So NXT has a massive night coming up this week on Wednesday night. CW elected to move this week's NXT episode to Wednesday night because of the election here in the United States. And NXT being moved to Wednesday night means that they're going up against AEW Dynamite. And learning from the past, WWE has always managed to go all out when they go up against AEW. So this week's episode of NXT, which has been dubbed NXT 2300, is taking place at the old ECW arena. And honestly, we know some stuff about the show. We know some guests are going to be there, but we don't know what else is going to come. So in this video, we're going to quickly talk about NXT 2300, what it could do for NXT as a whole, and what else could we quite possibly see, knowing that WWE likes to go all out when they go up against AEW. So, as I said, it's going to be a massive night for NXT. Not only is it going to be in the old ECW arena, but we're also going to get some major nostalgia kicks from RVD and Bubba Ray Dudley and whoever else decides to show up. There's obviously going to be a lot of tie-ins to ECW, and I wouldn't necessarily rule out a Paul Heyman return considering that it's being held in the old ECW arena. So it would make sense for Paul Heyman to return at this week's NXT episode, but I don't see that happening necessarily because I think he's more incorporated and more involved with the Bloodline storyline that's going on right now. But it would not shock me at all if he does end up making an appearance of some kind. So not only do we have some major returns, but we're also getting a showcase of this new NXT women's division that we got teased about on last week's episode. Now, I did make a video on just how crazy of a moment that was on last week's episode of NXT when we got our first glimpse of what this new women's division looks like. So if you haven't checked that video out, I highly suggest going and checking that out once you finish this one here. Obviously, I think the biggest match has to go to this 10-woman tag team match that's just stacked beyond belief. This is their chance to really showcase the women's division for NXT and showcase how damn good that it can be and show the entire wrestling world that it could quite possibly be the best women's division in pro wrestling, period. And again, if we have learned anything from the past, it's that when WWE/NXT goes up against AEW, they like to go all out. So, as I said, when WWE goes up against AEW, they seem to go all out because I think they learned their lesson from when they went up against them when NXT was NXT 2.0. I know a lot of people, most everybody, doesn't want to think of NXT 2.0, and I do not blame you in the slightest, but I think that WWE realizes that when NXT was losing to AEW, that really hurt the NXT brand, and even more than it already was being hurt when it became NXT 2.0. And I think we got a taste of WWE learning their lesson on the October 10th, 2023 episode of NXT when they were going up against AEW. And if you forget, that was the episode that featured Cody Rhodes, John Cena, Paul Heyman, and The Undertaker. So I think they might have learned their lesson from the NXT 2.0 days, and they don't want to lose to AEW anymore. Competition is what makes pro wrestling fantastic. Obviously, without the Monday Night Wars and that competition, we likely don't get the Attitude Era. And regardless of what side you're on, whether you're on AEW or WWE, competition is good, and especially in pro wrestling because that forces everybody to be at their best. Let's not forget, there was a time where AEW was pulling better numbers, and now look at where we are. We've seen a complete 180 when WWE decided to actually do something about it, and it largely took place after Triple H got put in charge. So again, competition is a fantastic thing, and especially in the world of pro wrestling. So I think that NXT going up against AEW provides some of the best NXT episodes because they don't want to come second place to AEW once again. So as I'm recording this, we still don't know the full show. We know a couple things. We know everything that I talked about earlier. Obviously, the massive tag match in the women's division. We know that Bubba Ray Dudley is going to make an appearance. We know RVD is going to make an appearance. And I'm assuming there's going to be other ECW legends that are going to show up for this show. And I've made a lot of videos about NXT this year because it has been such a roller coaster type year for them, because they started out having such an amazing product, and then the WWE draft happened and they lost a lot of their main talent. Braun Breaker, Ilya Dragunov, taking a big hit from the NXT roster. Then they started to build themselves back up. They started to build around Trick Williams, and they started this partnership with TNA, which helped out incredibly. And now we're seeing something that I thought we were going to see, and we're going to start seeing NXT kind of traveling a little bit more. We obviously just had the big debut episodes on the CW, which saw NXT traveling and not having just the Performance Center. I think, again, we could see NXT traveling more and more, especially as the product continues to improve week after week, basically. So, as always, this is where I want to hear from you guys. Are you going to tune in on Wednesday for NXT? And are you excited for the episode? Because, again, I think it could be a just insane episode. Considering everything that is going into it, the insane tag team match that we're going to get in the women's division, to it being in the old ECW arena, and them simply going up against AEW once again. I think it could be a massive night for NXT, providing they play their cards right. And with the way that they've been going, I think that they're going to do just that. And I think they're going to put on an absolutely incredible show. So that is going to do it for this video here. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button. If you really enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. It'll really help out the channel a lot. Down below in the description is our Linktree link. The Linktree link will take you to all of the social medias for this channel, and I highly suggest going and checking out our X page. Over on X, we do updates on Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and all of the PLEs. And overall, I want that to be a place for wrestling fans to go and talk about wrestling, especially if you're like me and you don't have a lot of people to talk to about wrestling. So if that does apply to you, swing by a Raw or SmackDown, join in on the conversation, and maybe it's for you. But again, that is going to do it for this video here. Stay tuned for more content coming in the future. We'll see you next time.